I wore long sleeves to my own wedding. Not because I was cold. Because I was ashamed of the woman he married. I was 42 years old the first time I let a man see my skin in daylight. Not my husband. Not the father of my children. Stranger. A man I met at a gas station while my car was overheating. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. The day my skin turned against me. I was 29. Pregnant with my first child. Standing in front of a bathroom mirror in a tiny apartment that smelled like microwave popcorn and cheap laundry detergent. I noticed a spot on my hand. Like someone had dropped a drop of bleach on my skin. I ignored it. 3 weeks later there were 5 more spots. 6 months later, my hands looked like a map of a country I didn't recognize. White patches spreading across my knuckles, my wrists, creeping up my arms like slow fire. The doctor said the word I would learn to hate. Vitiligo. He said it wasn't dangerous. Wasn't contagious. Wasn't cancer. He said it was just cosmetic. Just cosmetic. As if the skin I showed the world every single day was just a decoration. As if looking in the mirror wasn't the first thing I did every morning and the last thing I did every night. My husband at the time, he said all the right things at first. It doesn't matter, he said. I love you. But love doesn't stop people from staring. We went to a grocery store 6 months after my diagnosis. A child pointed at my hand. Loud. Innocent. Mommy, why is her skin like that? The mother pulled the child away. Didn't apologize. Didn't explain. Just retreated. My husband pretended not to notice. But I saw him. I saw him look at my hands differently when we held them in public. I saw him pull away just slightly when I reached for him at restaurants. He never said a word. He didn't have to. The silence told me everything. I started wearing long sleeves in July. In August, in 90-degree heat, I bought gloves. Not for winter. For the grocery store. I stopped going to the pool with my daughter. Stopped wearing sundresses. Stopped raising my hand in PTA meetings because I didn't want the other mothers to see. I became an expert at hiding. Foundation that cost $40 a bottle. Long cardigans in every color. Makeup tutorials on YouTube at 2 in the morning while my husband slept next to me. He never woke up. He never asked why I was crying. He never asked why I stopped letting him touch my back during sex. He just accepted it. The same way he accepted the spots on my skin. Without curiosity. Without tenderness. Without fight. That was the beginning of the end. Not the vitiligo. The loneliness. By the time I turned 35, I had learned to live small. Small movements. Small voice. Small presence. I stopped going to family reunions. Stopped attending my daughter's school plays unless I could sit in the back row, in the dark, where no one could see my hands folded in my lap. My daughter, she was 7 when she asked me the question I will never forget. She said, "Mommy, why do you cover your arms?" I didn't know how to answer. I said, "Because I'm cold." She looked at me. She was 7. But she knew I was lying. Children always know. She reached out and touched my wrist. The white patch there. She said, "I think it looks like a cloud." Cloud. That's what she saw. Cloud. And I had spent 6 years seeing a monster. That moment broke something in me. Not in a bad way. In a way that cracks open a door you didn't know was there. I started therapy 3 weeks later. A small office with a green couch and a therapist named Dr. Evelyn who had gray hair and kind eyes and never once looked at my hands. I told her about the stares. The silence. The way my husband stopped reaching for me. She said something I wrote down and kept in my wallet for the next 5 years. She said, "You are not hiding your skin. You are hiding yourself. And the people who love you cannot find what you have buried." I cried for 20 minutes in that office. Not sad tears. Angry tears. Because I realized something terrible. I had done this to myself. My husband didn't make me hide. The strangers didn't make me hide. I did. I decided that my skin was unlovable. And then I acted like it was true. And then everyone around me started acting like it was true too. 'Cause that's how shame works. You give it to yourself first. and then you hand it to everyone else. I went home that night determined to change. I took off my cardigan. I stood in front of the mirror in a tank top. And I looked at myself. Really looked. The white patches on my shoulders. The spots on my ribs. The way my skin looked like a puzzle missing half its pieces. I didn't love what I saw. But for the first time in 6 years I didn't look away. That was progress. That was everything. My husband and I divorced when I was 38. Not because of the vitiligo. Because of the silence. He had stopped seeing me years ago. Not my skin. Me. The person underneath. I was the one who filed. I was the one who packed the boxes. I was the one who told my daughter that mommy and daddy loved her but couldn't live together anymore. My daughter, 10 years old by then, she said, "Is it because of your spots?" I almost laughed. Almost cried. "No, baby," I said. "It's because he stopped looking at mine." She didn't understand. But she hugged me anyway. Children are better at love than adults. They don't need explanations. They just need arms. I moved into a small house. Rental. Beige walls. Beige carpet. Beige life. I told myself I was done with men. I told myself I was too old. Too damaged. Too spotted. I told myself a lot of lies. The truth was simpler and sadder. I was afraid. Afraid of being seen. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of standing in front of a man without my armor of long sleeves and foundation and carefully crafted excuses. So I stayed alone. For 4 years I stayed alone. I worked. I raised my daughter. I went to therapy. I learned to wear short sleeves in my own backyard where no one could see me. But I never let anyone close. Until the gas station. I was 42. My car was overheating on a highway exit ramp in July. The air was thick and wet. My hair was sticking to my neck. And I was wearing a tank top. No cardigan. No jacket. No armor. Just me. My spotted shoulders. My patchy arms. My skin on full display because I had nowhere to hide. I was standing by my hood, staring at the engine like I knew what I was looking at, when a truck pulled up behind me. A man got out. Gray at the temples. Kind eyes. A face that looked like it had laughed a lot and cried enough. He said, "Need a hand?" Almost said no. I almost lied. Almost covered up. Almost ran away. But I was too hot. Too tired. Too old to pretend anymore. I said, "Yes." He walked over. Looked at my engine. Looked at me. His eyes landed on my arms. On the white patches. On the map of my shame. I waited for the flinch. The look away. The polite discomfort. It didn't come. He just looked back at the engine and said, "You're out of coolant. I have some in the truck." That was it. He didn't ask about my skin. Didn't stare. Didn't pretend not to notice. He just saw it and moved on. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing special. Which to him I wasn't. And that was the most beautiful thing anyone had done for me in years. He treated me like a person. Not a tragedy. Not a medical condition. Not a problem to be solved. Just a woman with a broken car on a hot day. His name was David. He was 51. Divorced. A carpenter who built furniture and read mystery novels and had a laugh that sounded like gravel rolling downhill. He fixed my car in 15 minutes. We talked for 2 hours. David didn't ask me out that day. He didn't ask for my number. Didn't make a move. Didn't do any of the things I expected. He just said, "Take care of yourself," and got back in his truck and drove away. I stood in that gas station parking lot for 5 minutes after he left, trying to figure out what had just happened. Nothing had happened. That was the point. A man had looked at my skin and seen nothing worth commenting on. No pity. No disgust. No curiosity. Just neutrality. I didn't know how to process that. I went home. I told my daughter about the nice man who helped with the car. She was 14 by then. Old enough to read between the lines. She said, "Was he cute?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "Mom, you're blushing." It was. I didn't see David again for 3 weeks. I went back to that gas station. Not on purpose. Okay, maybe a little on purpose. He was there, buying coffee, wearing a flannel shirt with sawdust on the sleeves. He saw me, smiled, walked over. He said, "Car still running?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Good." Silence. Then he said, "You want to get coffee sometime?" I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. I said, "Did you see my arms?" He blinked, confused. He said, "Your arms?" I said, "The spots. The vitiligo. Did you see it?" He looked at my arms. Really looked. For the first time. And then he said something I will carry to my grave. He said, "I saw that you needed help. I didn't inventory your body. Is that something I was supposed to do?" I started crying right there in a gas station in front of a man I barely knew. Not sad tears. Relieved tears. Because for the first time in 13 years, someone had looked at me and not seen a medical chart. They had seen a person. David and I went for coffee. Then dinner. Then a walk in the park where I wore a sundress for the first time since my daughter was born. He didn't stare at my legs. Didn't ask questions. Didn't treat me like I was fragile or broken or brave. He just held my hand. His fingers interlaced with mine. His thumb rubbing circles on my spotted knuckles. Like it was nothing. Like it was everything. I asked him once, months later, if my skin bothered him. He thought about it for a long time. Then he said, "The only thing that bothers me is how long you hid it. You have beautiful skin. All of it. The colorful parts and the quiet parts. It's still skin. It's still you." I asked him if he was sure. He laughed. That gravel sound. He said, "I'm 51 years old. I've seen bodies. I've had bodies. I've lost bodies. Your skin is the least interesting thing about you." I said, "What's the most interesting?" He said, "You're still asking. You're still trying. You got out of a bad marriage and you didn't give up. That's rare. That's beautiful. The skin is just the wrapping paper." I kissed him right there in his workshop surrounded by half-finished tables and the smell of sawdust. He kissed me back. And for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch when someone's hands touched the white patches on my back. Because he wasn't touching my vitiligo. He was touching me. We got married on a beach. Not a fancy one. Local one. With sand that stuck to everything and seagulls that stole my sister's sandwich. I wore a sleeveless dress. No cardigan. No foundation. No lies. My daughter was my maid of honor. She was 16. She cried before I walked down the aisle. She said, "Mom, you look like a cloud." I laughed. Remembered the first time she said that. When I was still hiding. Still afraid. Still convinced I was unlovable. I looked at my arms in the mirror. White patches on brown skin. Like clouds in a sunset sky. I didn't see a monster anymore. I saw a woman who had survived. David cried when he saw me. Not because of my skin. Because of my smile. He said later, "You looked free. I had never seen you look free." I was free. Free of the shame. Free of the hiding. Free of the belief that my body was something to apologize for. Took me 42 years to get there. 42 years of hiding. 42 years of long sleeves and careful poses and avoiding mirrors. But I got there. And here is what I learned. The people who matter don't see your spots. They see your light. And the people who see your spots as flaws were never going to see your light anyway. Let them look away. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Because somewhere out there, there is a man with sawdust on his shirt who will look at you and see nothing but a woman who needs help with her car. And he will stop. And he will help. And he will change your life without even trying. I am 47 now. My spots have spread. My hands look like a map of a country I have learned to love. David kisses my knuckles every morning before he leaves for work. He doesn't see the vitiligo. He sees me. And finally I see me too. You think that's the end of the story. The happy ending. The wedding on the beach. It's not. Because 3 months after that wedding, David sat me down at the kitchen table. He looked scared. He said, "There's something I need to tell you." I asked him what. He pulled up his sleeve. And on his forearm there was a white patch. Round. Familiar. I knew it immediately. I had seen it in the mirror for 18 years. He said, "It started last month. I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want you to think." He stopped. Waited. He said, "I didn't want you to think I was trying to be like you. Or that I caught something. Or that." I put my hand on his arm. I touched the white patch. And I smiled. I said, "Welcome to the club." He laughed, cried a little, held my hand. And then I asked him the question I had asked myself 1,000 times. "Are you going to hide it?" He looked at me. Looked at his arm. Looked back at me. He said, "No. I'm going to show you how it's done." And that's when I realized something. Love doesn't erase your struggles. Just gives you someone to struggle next to. Someone who holds your spotted hand in their spotted hand. And says, "We're still beautiful." And means it.